You guys tried the new Parodies whiskey?
What is that?
The new what?
Parodies whiskey?
Oh,
Have you heard of it?
The Steph Curry?
No, Parodies.
No.
I've never heard of that.
Dan,
Yeah,
your
you're
jokes
awful.
suck.
You're supposed to say Parodies whiskey, and I'm going to go Parodies nuts.
God, that's terrible.
Yeah. Good one. We got that on record, right?
Yeah, that's on record.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Good job, Dan. You got the cold open.
Yep.
A podcast about bourbon and the ones who drink it. This is Bourbon Matters.
I'm
All right,
better
well,
just
in that
staring
case,
at my phone.
Welcome to Bourbon Matters. I'm
Yeah.
Jake.
I'm the other Jake.
I'm an idiot.
We're really going to confuse people this time.
Oh, yeah.
And tonight we are playing Would You Rather.
Oh, are we
Yeah.
serious? We're doing this?
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Let's do it.
As long as you came up with the questions, you idiot. We didn't tell you like
but we just-
a fake thing. It's not like
Yeah,
a high school
alright.
would you rather. It's like a whiskey would you rather.
Yeah. It's whiskey,
So-
Would You Rather.
I gave you some examples of questions. I'm not going to use any of those examples because I thought it'd be fair play for everybody.
Mhm.
But yeah, I thought it'd be fun. It was recommended by a friend of us on the show. And I thought it'd be fun to have some little
Wow, you're not
debates.
gonna shout the person out? You're kind of a shitty I guess host.
Jesus. Hate you all.
We're off to a good start tonight.
All
But,
right, Dan.
Yeah, so I mean, basic would you rather stuff is we'll pose a question. We'll all give our answers on it. So you'll have to give an answer. There's no fence writing on this topic at all. You're just going to say one side or the other. You can take some time to think about it. We can debate about it a little bit. But that's basically the only rule for these things. So I figured it'd be fun to do that and have some whiskey. I got a bunch of questions, or not a bunch. I came up with 6 plus the ones I gave out. So if any of you guys don't, that way if we have some that are similar, I can go to some different ones. But if one of you guys wants to start off with a would you rather question, feel free.
Yeah, I got one.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
So, would you rather drink sub 100 proof or over 140 proof exclusively forever?
Oh, wow.
And you,
That's
you
a good
can't
one.
water down the hazmat.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna say sub 100, and that's coming from somebody who loves proof. I think like 110 probably to 130 is like my wheelhouse, but if we're gonna say over 140, sheesh, I don't know if I could drink 140 my whole life with not being able to water it down.
Yeah, I think like a 125 would have been a tougher number for me to think about, but over 140, I mean, there's only a couple whiskeys I've had that are over 140.
So let's think about
There-
that. What if it was 125?
Well, let's see if we're on the same side right now. Then we can switch it to 125. But I would say over 140. There's only a couple I've had. The one was the Watershed that you guys had. I thought it was really good, but that's still like I need to be in a special occasion or special mood or very cold to have anything over 140.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what if we so let's narrow it, or let's bump the range over a little bit and say sub 95 or over 130.
Or 130.
Wait, what do you mean? So we can't drink between 95
So-
and 130?
Yeah.
Man, that
All
gets
right,
rid of like my favorite range is the 110 range, 110, 120 range. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is a better like would you rather question.
yeah.
I don't. This is tough. I mean, can I drink Eagle
They're not meant
Rare
to be
10
easy.
for the rest of my life? Or Buffalo
you mean you
Trace
could have
or Green River?
Oh no,
I
you
don't
could.
know.
You couldn't have Taylor. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, that's gonna be the deal breaker for me. I'm going over.
Yeah,
I don't know. I
that's
think
tough.
that is tough. I think I would go over because I think going under would just get boring after a while because you'd get kind of the same options. But I think going over, you'd have a lot more to explore with the different, single barrels and different releases, barrel proof releases. So that's my answer.
Yeah,
Dan?
I would on those parameters over 130. Yeah, I think. Man, Jake, what about you? I'm still going back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll kind of be a little contrarian on this one and say I'd go below 95. So I feel like there's a lot out there that qualifies, including a lot of scotches, and other things that
Are you
have a
talking
lot
all
of
whiskey
like
though, or I thought you were talking just bourbon.
no, like any alcohol.
Any alcohol. All right. Honestly, I'd probably go under if it was any alcohol. Because I was thinking in the back of my
Okay.
head, like, I could get by with, like, a scotch or American whiskey, or, like, when it's hot out, I can do a tequila. But yeah, if it's any alcohol, I'm probably going to have to go with under.
I guess that is a bit of a caveat.
Yeah.
Maybe it should only be bourbon.
I mean, it depends on the question. You created the question, so however you want it to
I'm
go,
gonna say bourbon only.
Okay.
Bourbon only.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes for a better debate.
I think I would go under. I think I would go under just to force myself to really explore low proof whiskey.
Well, there's plenty out there that you can explore, but you're just going to get tired of it over a period of time. You're going to want more.
The one downside that I'm playing through in my head with the over, like I was leaning over, but I don't know. I mean, you could do it. Cocktails would be a little bit rougher. Bourbon cocktails, old fashions and things with 125 proof. You'd have to change the
I don't
recipes
know.
a little bit.
Does this include cocktails?
You can't water it down, so cocktails would be excluded.
Oh, so no cocktails. So then
you can't drink any bourbon unless it's over 130 proof, and unless you don't add anything to it.
You basically have to drink it neat if it's over 130.
But I could have like a rum old fashioned, or like a Scotch old fashioned.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would probably go. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like 120. I would probably easily say over, but now you have me like second guessing on the 130 because what I mean, there's really not a whole lot that's consistently above 130. You'd be looking at a bunch of one-off blends or single barrels.
Yeah, it'd be a pretty small pool that you'd be stuck to as well because of that.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't even get like Booker's releases.
Booker's, most stags wouldn't be available. Yeah, I'm gonna go under on that.
I'm under, but if it was over 120, I would say over.
Okay.
See, I called the number
That's
right
fair.
there, Jake.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I do like that you dropped it down to sub 95. It made me think a little bit harder from sub 100, but
it did because it ruled out all the bottom bonds.
Yeah. Interesting. Jake, you got one you want to throw in, or you want me to go on one?
Sure. So mine is so would you rather only be able to drink bourbon in cocktails or only be able to drink bourbon neat?
Ooh.
That's tough.
Man, yeah. That's interesting. I'm going to go back and forth. My initial reaction would be neat because that's probably about 90% of how I drink it right now anyways.
And
my initial reaction was cocktails.
I should probably say when I say like in cocktails, I'm including like bourbon over ice. Just like either neat or never neat, basically. So
Okay. I would go never neat.
so always have to be like over ice or in cocktails or with a drop of water.
Yeah, because I could handle the, like, I feel like if I'm forced to be choosing between
Do you like beer?
yeah, I don't know. I can't drink it anymore.
Okay, because I was gonna say like people that don't like beer probably will lean towards the cocktail route.
Yeah, like
Because
in the
I know some
summer,
people
having to exclusively drink neat whiskey would suck.
Yeah, I know some people that are like, I can't drink beer at all. So when it comes to like, time for a beer, I'm grabbing a Jack and Coke. And these are like
Mhm.
big time bourbon people. Shout out to Will on the Adventures Club if he's listening, or anyone in the club would probably think that's funny. But yeah, it's kind of like one way or the other. If it's a hot day, like I can grab a Corona, I can grab a beer to get me by, but I won't ever really be
Yeah.
grabbing bourbon neat. But it kind of sucks. I can't do whiskey lemonade, can't do a nice old fashioned. So
Well, and like there's cocktails for every season, every occasion. I feel like you wouldn't be, I wouldn't be upset if I was forced to drink cocktails or even over ice, every once in a while.
Yeah, I have noticed that during the summer I've drank less whiskey and I've had more beer. And it helps too because some breweries in the area take our barrels, and whenever they come to grab barrels to barrel age some of their stuff in, they leave us free beer. Uh, so I've had a lot more beer this summer to being hot because on a hot day the last thing you want to do is really sit down with a neat bourbon on the hot summer days. But I don't know. I just haven't drank as much. And I don't think I've made hardly any cocktails this summer either. So I'd probably say neat just because I am fine drinking beer in the summer.
You're gonna give up that bourbon and blues?
Yeah, I know. That's about the only thing I've really had. I don't think I haven't made an old fashioned probably since the winter springtime. So I know I'm gonna go into some friends in a few weeks for a football game, and I'll be making up those. But I'm gonna say only neat for me. Were both you guys on the cocktail side? Jake, what was your?
Actually, I'm neat, and to me, this was like a very easy answer. I kind of am a little bit of a purist when it comes to spirits and whiskey, and I love cocktails. Don't get me wrong; like I get pretty intense and motivated to create the best cocktail every time I'm whipping up a batch of cocktails. But I do really enjoy tasting spirits, and I think I have a really good kind of knack for differentiating different spirits neat. And I don't think I could ever give up that hobby of just tasting and nosing neat spirits on their own. So I don't know. That's a tough, like it would be a huge bummer. I kind of thought this was going to be more towards the neat side for all of us, and I'm glad that it was a little more of a split decision. Because that brings up a good point. I'm glad we have a non-beer drinker in the group to chime that in.
Yeah, because I could easily see why, if you had the option of an ice cold beer in the summer, it would be like, why would I need cocktails? I just can't drink it anymore. So I have to do cocktails.
I would have thought, with the collection that you have, I mean, just look behind you and how passionate you are about tasting spirits. And like, I've really mostly only seen you drink spirits neat. I would have thought you for sure would have went right towards the neat side. So that was kind of cool to see you gravitate towards the cocktail
Jake
side.
loves mixing his cocktails.
Yeah, I love making cocktails. But I mean, like, if I wasn't allowed to do on the rocks or water drops, I might go with neat, because those two give a little bit of flexibility.
I gotta keep it pure here, or else it'd be too easy.
No,
that's good. So All right, that was fun.
What do you got, Dan?
I got one that kind of plays off the similar idea to what Jake started off with, and I thought about this for a while, and I talked about it with our master distiller at work, and went back and forth on the wording and the price range. So here's what I came up. Would you rather only drink whiskey aged 5 years or less, or have to pay over $110 for every bottle you buy? So whiskey, that would include all your scotches and everything as well, too. All of your single malts, because it's 5 years for any whiskey. So that would get rid of a lot of overseas stuff, but you'd be paying over $110 per bottle of any type of whiskey.
So I'm going to say over 110, and mainly because you said it was any whiskey, because if it was any spirit, I might have to rethink this. But I don't know, when it comes to whiskey, like I like to sip my whiskey slow. I like to take my time with it and, really enjoy it. So I think I could get down with having to spend $110 on a bottle of whiskey every time, as long as I can make like margaritas on the side with some cheaper tequila.
Well, this is just, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. I think I would go under 5 years, because you still get bottled and bond access. So and like we've talked about age statements before. I could.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not
live without.
I don't like the age statement thing, but
right.
I mean,
but
I just feel like
you're also pretty concerned with access to scotch, right? So
yeah, but I mean, like you're
a little tough.
Yeah, but I also feel like you're just shutting yourself out of so many whiskeys out there to taste, and like I'd rather just pay more, be able to taste them, than not. If you would have said like you can't taste anything, over, or put some other stipulation on how much you can taste, that might be different. But I'd rather like find my niche bottles that I really like, and then I wouldn't have a problem paying $110.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I would actually go over 110. I would just have to really curb my habits.
This would shock me, Jake, if you picked the under here, because there's just so many whiskeys out there that you're shutting yourself out to.
Yeah.
And don't under 5 years, there's plenty of good whiskeys, but
yeah, I'm gonna stick with the under 5 years. The biggest thing you're going to miss is some of the oak flavors and some of the complexity you get as it ages, but you can still finish it in a toasted barrel. So you can still do things of that nature. When I originally worded the question, I just had bourbon on there. And I had it at $100, but I decided to change it to whiskey and over 110, just because I thought it had a little bit more of a dynamic to it. Because you're basically ruling out any what's considered decent scotch from that category. But I'm going under. I've talked about a decent amount. I think a lot of whiskey's way overpriced these days, and I think I'd rather just.
Yeah, but Dan,
I'm going to change my answer. I'm gonna side with Dan on this one.
Listen to my argument before you change your answer.
Well, this isn't a competition, but if you want to make it one, we can.
Whoa. I'm just glad we have some argument going, because honestly, I would have thought that Dan would 100% been on the over here. All right, we've talked about this enough. Like, age doesn't really mean better. You don't need to chase age statements. But I just feel like you're shutting yourself out of tasting so many amazing whiskeys if you're only sticking to under 5 years.
Yeah.
So the main reason I want to switch,
let me hear it,
is because most ryes are probably under 5 years, and I could live with like exclusively drinking some decent ryes.
If it was bourbon, your answer would be over, and
I think so. Yeah.
And you're also just making Dan cringe even more.
Yeah.
No.
Because like frankly, if I were forced, gun to my head, to pick between bourbon and rye, I'd probably pick rye.
Nice. Yeah,
I'm not going to waste a would you rather on that though, because I know what Dan's going to pick.
You guys should be watching the video of this podcast to see Dan's face when Jake says these things.
No, I thought about that too. Is that keeps a lot of the rye whiskeys in there. So it was fun to play with the word whiskey or how I was going to word that. So it took a little bit to come down to it. But I think there's so many overpriced whiskeys out there the way it are that are under $110 right now, and having to pay over 110 for anything that has a little bit more age on it. Like, think of that, you'd be paying 110 for a bottle of Eagle Rare. Is since you brought that up earlier, then that just doesn't seem worth it.
I just don't want to shut myself out to being able to taste and buy, all these whiskeys that are at that price point.
I don't want to poke holes in your
Oh no, I want you to poke holes into it. Oh, am I into my question?
Yeah, into your question. So in that scenario, does that mean that normally $300 bottle is $110?
No,
or is it always normal
price? The minimum price you'd be able to get would be $110.
But the minimum is just $110.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. The floor to get in is $110. So all your crazy, it's not every bottle is $110. It's your $35, $40 whiskeys that are over 5 years old would now be $110.
Yeah. So I don't want to shut myself out to whiskeys older than 5 years. That's basically why I'm staying put on that.
It's a valid argument. It was I sat and because we talked at work about a couple of these, and we went back and forth just to try and get these where we kept changing the parameters until we really had to think, and I was really on the fence until you thought through it. None of these were easy answers for me, but it was fun to play with the wording on some of these. It's I was glad with that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
One of you guys, what do you got next?
All right, so would you rather drink American single malts or Canadian whiskey exclusively?
Ooh,
that's a good one.
That's easy for me. What are you Googling?
It'd be easy for you.
No, I'm not Googling. I'm typing down all these so we can talk about them at work.
Oh, okay. American single malts. You knew that was my answer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like my American
Dan's
single malts.
What is the legal limit for rye content in Canadian whiskey?
Yeah. I've definitely had my fair share of really good Canadian whiskeys. I think Bareface is like a huge sleeper. Under $40, phenomenal 7-year Canadian whiskey. Caribou is good, a little overrated, of course, but an Alberta Premium, the rye whiskey, barrel strength, that's really good. Lots of great Canadian whiskeys, but again, there's just too many good American single malts for me to turn down to, and that's kind of more my flavor profile anyway. So that's just like a no-brainer for me.
Is there none of the above?
Dan's gonna have a cool argument
for Dan.
Here.
Yeah, mine is none of the above. It wasn't.
Come on, Dan.
Option.
Drum roll.
No, I would go American single malt over Canadian. I haven't had a ton of Canadian whiskey, but what I've had, I have not enjoyed that much. There's been some American single malts that I have enjoyed, and it's with it being so new, you're only going to get more and more stuff out of it. Like I don't. Well, I guess because we're probably in the greatest country of all time, USA. Mm-hmm. You don't hear as much stuff about some of the Canadians experimenting as what's going on for experimentation in the States with American single malt. So yeah, I would probably go American single malt.
That Found North 18 is a Canadian, isn't it?
Well, so I was trying to like justify, picking American single malts. Because there are a lot of really, really, really good Canadian whiskeys. Now that I'm thinking about it, you have the whole
Crown Royal, baby.
I'm blanking on it, but the just
Crown Royal.
No. But anyway, there's just, to Dan's point, American single malts are so new. I think we haven't even like broken the ice on what we're about to see with a lot of these bourbon distilleries specifically. So I think the potential for American single malts has just barely kind of tapped the iceberg, whereas Canadian whiskeys might be kind of on their end of their I don't want to say end of their life, but like they've been around forever. So we know what Canadian whiskey is. A lot of these distillers are probably like Scotch distilleries where they're not experimenting too much, like Dan said. So I feel like we're kind of stuck with what we've been given. Old Saint Nick was the whiskey that I was blanking on. American distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky, but they do source a lot from Canada, and some of those releases have been really, really good. The Rare Perfection 14 and 15 year I thought were really good. As well as the Old Saint Nick line. Like I could live with those, but I just think there's so much potential with American single malt that hasn't even, there's probably American single malt distilleries that we haven't even heard of yet. There are gonna be some of the best distilleries known in the country. Just because that just got passed as a law, there's probably people distilling right now, that we'll hear about 4 or 5 years from now once they put out their first American single malt. So I think there's just too much untapped potential with American single malts.
Yeah, I'd agree. I kind of just wanted to see which way Dan would go.
I knew he would have said the America's the best country ever, and that's the route that I'm going. So
part of it for me is just I couldn't stomach giving any kind of credit to the Canadians. So.
Yeah. Next one, Jake. What do you got?
So my next one is would you rather bourbon only, would you rather only drink single barrels or never drink single barrels? If we're only talking about bourbon.
Wow.
Okay.
I know my initial gut reaction is going to be that I only drink single barrels.
Same.
And that's probably mine too. But then I start thinking about Booker's.
There's a lot of really good blends out there.
They're 2XO. Like there's a lot of good blends out there, and blends are also kind of on the up and coming.
Yeah. Like you couldn't even have like a normal flagship product from any distillery.
Well, I mean, like Knob Creek has Knob Creek single barrel. You can go and get it. It's going to be a little different every time, but overall, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into.
Jake, have you ever heard of this whiskey that's single barrels only called Blanton's?
The one with the horse on it?
Yes.
Because that's a single barrel.
You got some in the background there, Dan?
No, I don't. I have some whiskey acres. You know what? Single barrels doesn't have to be barrel proof, so I would say single barrels only. For sure, you're not going to get... Like, I like the blends and things. The blends is interesting. But you can still have finished whiskey. You can still have aged whiskey at single barrel. You can proof it down to whatever proof you want, which makes it easier to put in a cocktail. More or less, the bigger issue, I think, for me, besides blends, would be just the variance from bottle to bottle, where you can't go and grab a bottle and know that it's going to be the exact same thing that you liked the last time you had it. Yeah, I think with knowing that you can proof it down, I would say single barrels only.
I'm going to poke a hole.
Yes.
Do I get to pick the single barrels that I'm forced to drink?
I mean, you can. Yeah, you have to drink single barrels.
Yeah.
So
you can't pull anything off the shelf that's a blend.
So yes, you could go
batch.
You could go on a barrel pick and taste the 4 samples because they're single barrels. But yeah, you can only drink out of a single barrel for the rest of your life.
But realistically,
bourbon.
Yeah. But like realistically, it would be extremely difficult for the average person to go buy a $10,000 or $15,000 barrel
No, well,
be
you don't.
like
You don't have to buy the whole barrel. So, like when you walk into a
You can
store,
only buy gold. You
well,
couldn't be
so
able to.
here's my
like you
argument
can't buy
against
Hard
doing
Truth small batch. You have to buy a Hard Truth single barrel.
right. So my argument against the single barrel, even though I am still kind of leaning that way, is that you're at the mercy of other people's palates
Mm-hmm.
if you go the single barrel only route. And like,
Well,
what if
he's not
what if
saying
you
he's not
if you
saying
buy
store
a,
picks.
like
Right,
Well, it
but
basically would be.
Jake's saying like if I walked into a liquor store, I could only buy a single barrel. So if they, if you're walking into Gold Eagle, obviously we do a lot of single barrels, so there's a lot of options. But typically you walk into a store if you want a bottle of Hard Truth, you walk in, you look for Hard Truth, you see they have the regular and they have a single barrel pick next to it. Like you could only go with the regular for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I'm still sticking on single barrels only, I think. Yeah. I'm locked in on that one. That's my initial gut. I'm going to stick with it.
I don't know. It's hard for me because I typically enjoy the single barrels that I get.
So you
and
guys
taste.
Yeah, you
But,
guys
like,
know me. I should be all for single barrel, but I'm kind of split on this one. Only because I feel like, again, I'm shutting myself out to certain whiskeys. Like I
Yeah.
won't ever be able to drink Booker's. I won't ever be able to drink 2XO. The whole Old
Right, 'cause
Forester
all
lineup, you
blends
wouldn't
are
be
out
able
the
to drink
window.
that. Yeah. Everything
yeah.
Buffalo Trace, unless it's a store pick, you couldn't drink that. I just think there's a lot that you're pulling off the table because there's still a lot of distilleries that don't offer single barrels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just my collection isn't nearly as big as yours there, Jake. But just going through all the stuff on my shelves, the ones I enjoy drinking the most right now are single barrels.
I agree with
I
you,
think it's
Dan. I
It's
back
like
that
probably-
up. Like, single barrels are kind of the way to go. Like they're the shit. They're the best value in bourbon.
For me, like probably 80% of what I have would be undrinkable if I went single barrel only. That would be really tough to swallow.
But it'd also be very hard to differentiate brand from brand because every time you taste something, it's just one barrel, and we know how much each barrel varies from, even if they're sitting right next to each other in the same rick house their whole life.
Yeah, I mean a lot of flavor profiles come from the actual blending,
and also from the actual barrel.
right?
You could argue it both ways.
And
Tough.
And from barrel spirits. Yeah, see what I did there? Because you wouldn't be able to drink any barrel product.
All right, I'm gonna go no single barrels.
Damn, I'm torn on this one.
That's a good one. I think a lot of people listening that aren't big into or huge into whiskey and are more of casual fans of it, they would have no problem saying they wouldn't worry about single barrels. But for people that have tried a lot of different single barrels, I think it'd be way more difficult of a decision. I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, but I also think like, yeah, I don't know. This is probably like a question that could be talked about over an entire episode.
Yeah,
there's just so many moving pieces. But if I were forced with a gun to my head right now to pick one side or the other, God, I would probably have to go single barrel. Just because you can find such a good value in one bottle. And like another thing that's like itching at me right now is the whole Booker's versus Knob Creek blind tastings that we've done. Knob Creek single barrels have destroyed Booker's in the blind tastings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
we even
I don't know. I think
yeah.
I think if you get a really good single barrel, there's almost nothing you can do blending wise to come close to it.
Yeah, for me, what
Even
really
though-
swayed me
yeah.
is that like the basics would just be unattainable, like Elijah Craig or Old Granddad or like those kind of staples for me that I really enjoy. So that's why I had to go no single barrel.
All right. This one's kind of more of a fun one. Would you rather never be able to drink your favorite whiskey again, or have a free lifetime supply of it, but before every pour you would have to take a shot of Malort?
That's definitely
So
a
you're
fun
either
one.
you're basically either giving up your favorite whiskey or having Malort taint it before you drank it every time.
Yeah, I would give up Elijah 18.
I
I
would give up my favorite whiskey.
Yeah, I thought that would be pretty easy. I would give up as well too. I mean, there's so much other good stuff out there.
I don't know,
but that'd be
though.
fun to.
What if
It's
what if I were to say George T. Stagg is my favorite whiskey, and so I could have
Well,
a
they'll just
lifetime
burn the
supply?
Malort straight out of your mouth, right?
Yeah, I know. No, it's if you I don't know if it was. I think a better question actually would be: would you rather have never be able to have your favorite whiskey or only your favorite whiskey?
Yeah, I had another question that
'Cause
kind of went similar
might
on
get
that
sick
page.
of
So
it.
I have another question that was similar to that. So I wanted to throw it up, change it up a little bit, just to see if anyone really, because it's tough. Like, I definitely have my top two favorite whiskeys I've drank of all time are Pappy 12 and Saz 18, Sazerac 18. And it's like,
So
all right, well,
not only you have to deal with the availability issue too, right?
yeah.
Or is it infinite supply?
No,
Infinite
you
supply.
you would have an infinite free lifetime supply of your favorite whiskey. You just have to
okay.
take a shot of Malort first. So
Okay, yeah.
it's like, if I got rid of one, I could go with the other one, and then like 3, 4, and 5 aren't too far behind either. So there's enough stuff that's good there.
Or if you said take a shot of Malort before you open each new bottle,
Yeah.
then I would
Yeah.
say,
then
yeah,
that's
I'd
easily
probably
my
that'd
favorite.
be easy. That'd be easy the other way, I think. Phil.
Yeah.
I'm
Because I just wanted
stepping.
that you had your palate. I wanted your palate to be tainted before you could have your favorite whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm stepping out of the industry. I'm done with bourbon. I'll take 10 million cases of George T. Stagg, and I'll take a shot of Malort every time I open a bottle.
So you're gonna go with it? You're gonna go with the Malort?
I mean, if that's possible, if it's every time before I open a bottle, I might do it. And if
All
I had
right.
another career lined up, I don't know if I could do it still in my current job, but if I had another career lined up, I would go for it.
Yeah, it's that makes sense because if you're walking into a store and you're trying to tell people how good something is, they're like, "Yeah, but you have Malort daily."
Right? Yeah. We're like, yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't really taste it. Like, had to take a shot of Malort.
All right, so you're gonna buy some Malort and get a free lifetime supply of your favorite whiskey. There's
I'll
nothing
go
wrong
with
with
it.
that.
Yeah, if like I said, if I can step out of the industry and lifetime supply of George T. Stagg, I'm down with it.
Nice.
That's a big if though.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoyed thinking through that one mainly just because it makes you think about your favorite whiskey and never being able to try it again. And is it worth it to suffer through some Malort?
Yeah.
So what I had that was on the similar lines of that, and why I changed it to be that way was: would you rather only drink from your favorite distillery or never be able to drink from your favorite distillery again?
Ooh.
I would rather drink from my favorite distillery exclusively.
What distillery is that? Jim Beam?
He's gonna go Heaven Hill.
Willet
Heaven Hill.
or Heaven Hill? Yeah.
Heaven Hill for sure. There's
yeah,
plenty of variety there that I wouldn't get bored, I don't think.
I'm going with the Never.
Why is that?
I don't even know what my favorite distillery would be if I had to like just pick one. But even if I did, I'm thinking on top of my head, like it would be either Jim Beam, Buffalo Trace, Heaven Hill, maybe Willet, or Maker's Mark, but they just don't have enough variety. And I think either way, I'd find much more variety and enjoyment just exploring other whiskeys and other distilleries.
Yeah. And just going back on your last point is, let's say you didn't pick Buffalo Trace as your favorite. You would also never be able to drink Stag again, and you'd have to cut out another distillery that you couldn't drink from.
Yeah,
So it'd be a
I
little more
mean,
difficult.
I'm not like Stag was just like what kind of came up to mind first
Right.
when we were talking about that last point, but I'm not like a huge Stag fan per se. But that was just like if I had to pick one whiskey, that might be it. But yeah, I find plenty of enjoyment tasting, and I actually probably find more enjoyment tasting other whiskeys, trying new things than just going back to what I know I like. So I would go with other distilleries.
Jake, with your collection, I'm kind of surprised you went that way because I know Heaven Hill is high up in your favorites. But when I was thinking through it, the one thing that changed me a little bit, and I'm gonna say I would never drink my favorite distillery again, which would suck. But the thing that pushed me over the edge,
Whiskey Acres.
I would honestly probably go with Buffalo Trace, my favorite.
That's what I thought.
Obviously, two of my top two favorite whiskeys are out of Buffalo. But the reason I am going to go with never is you also would never be able to taste any of the new distilleries that are coming up on the market, and are or some of the distilleries that are younger but are really starting to hit some strides right now. You'd basically get rid of their entire product label moving forward. So, I would say I would never drink from my favorite distillery again.
Yeah, I would probably miss getting to try new things, but I just love their product line so much.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, the main theme of this is like you're going to miss out on one thing or the other. That's what the majority of these questions are going to boil down to: is are you willing to give up this to try this, or would you rather just stick with what you stick in your comfort zone, or stick with one thing because you know you like it and risk never being able to try it again? So.
Yeah. I know I could go to Jake with my sob story and he'd just get me the good shit from Heaven Hill, so.
Fighting cock.
Yeah.
Hey, that mellow
I'll show you the good. I'll show you the good shit, dude. Fighting cock, 103 proof,
I got that
6 year.
The what's the one? Oh yeah, I did pick that up. Yeah,
$20.
That was good. We tried that that one day. Yeah, that was good.
But also like we know you're a huge Elijah Craig fan.
Yeah.
So that would include the whole lineup of Elijah Craig, obviously. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good answer. I respect it. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but I respect it.
It would be hard to give up because there's like Old Elk is another brand that I absolutely love. So and there's it would be tough, but I'd live with the decision.
I like all these questions. I just imagine Jake after the way he's answering these, just like going through with boxes in through his room and just like just shoving armfuls of whiskey into boxes.
Yeah,
there's a soul tear just rolls down the side of his face.
I'd sell.
Yeah. Who's got another one?
All right, so would you rather have infinite tater bottle access or exclusively craft distillery normal bottle releases?
Ooh. So define tater.
So like anything that is mildly difficult to nearly impossible to get.
I would say, God damn it. This is a tough one. I would say probably the tater route, only because I think a lot of the mildly tough stuff obviously could go without. Most of it's highly overrated and oversearched for, but I think you're just ruling out some really, really good and some of the best whiskeys out there.
Yeah, that's the thing is like So this is the reason some of these bottles are considered tater bottles is because they actually are really damn good. And
Some of like 5% of them are really good.
Yeah. And when I say really good, like top of the top, like the special bottles you save for special occasions or special people, things like that.
Yeah.
I would embrace my taterness and probably go taters only. It's
Yeah.
if the caveat of only their main SKUs for a craft is probably the main reason for that.
So what if we modified it to be craft distilleries with their special releases?
Okay, so craft distillery full lineup versus tater only.
Yeah.
Got to go back and listen to our craft distillery episode real quick here.
Yeah. I think I would still lean. But the problem is, like, it doesn't take much to be considered. I mean, you can still be massive and have a. There's still some really good stuff that's you wouldn't think is craft. It's still
I don't
craft.
know. I think like if you're committing to right now today, I would go with the altar. But if you're going with for the future, I think craft distilleries is the way to go because we haven't even seen what most of these craft distilleries are going to put out. Yeah.
Mhm.
5 years from now, 10 years from now, there's going to be so much more out there to explore and to taste. I think we're like just kind of on the peak of what's to come.
Yeah, so I think I think I would do craft only because it's an infinite supply. So if I go try a new craft distillery bottle and I'm like, oh, this isn't good, I could just go pick another one and just keep going until I find something that I like.
Yeah, the selection in that is so much wider to go with craft, and there's so many more options. Yeah, I think with that I would go craft as well. Yeah, and especially too, because like, all right, well, we just had the podcast where Jake, you were live at the store with a what we would call a tater release, and honestly, on that table, if I walked in and there was like a full selection or that everything was still on the table, a bunch of those I probably wouldn't have bought anyway.
Well, what would be your first and second choice?
Of what? Tater bottles?
Of that table or tater, like whatever comes to mind.
Of that table?
Mm-hmm. Or like tater bottles, like what's something that you
right.
whatever comes to mind. Like,
based off what you guys had available, I probably would have grabbed either an Eagle and I go back and forth on Larceny.
But so like when it comes to like tater bottles, like what are like top 2-3 that you're like, all right, I'll buy every time when I see it?
I don't even do that because I can do all of that majority of the time at Sam's because he's got I'm never concerned about getting a bottle of Eagle.
All right, no promoting other liquor stores. What are 2-3 bottles?
I didn't say the name. I just said it's not called Sam's. It's not called Sam's.
Off the table from Saturday, I would probably take the Magnus Cigar Blend and Eagle Rare. Actually, no.
I don't think I'd do. I don't think I would have done the Magnus
because McKenna 10 and Eagle Rare. I forgot McKenna was on there.
Yeah, Magnus is just the cigar blend is good, but I think it's way overpriced. Yeah, I'd probably do the Eagle and the Taylor. I'm kidding. I'm not gonna say Taylor. I would probably
end
say
this podcast right now.
If it was single barrel or barrel proof, I'd go that route.
See, man,
small batch
single barrel Taylors. Honestly, I've done plenty of side by sides. Just as bad as the small batch.
See, I really like my one.
They're no
better.
I have, they're no better. Maybe you got one really good one, but they're no better than the small batch.
You just got a vendetta that you're out there against Taylor.
Uh,
Jeez.
before we proved Taylor wrong so much in the small batch era, I kind of always preached that the small batch was better than the single barrel. And maybe I've only tasted like 3 or 4 single barrels next to the small batch, but every time I thought the small batch was a better all around balanced whiskey than the single barrel.
Next time we all get together, we should do that blind. Small batch
Let's
versus
do it.
single barrel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna say craft on that answer just to wrap that one up.
Okay.
I just think like the majority of the tater stuff, I'm not a huge fan of that, so I'm gonna say craft.
Next time you're in the store, make sure you let Jake know that you know he's a tater.
Yeah.
You said tater, Jake? Jake? Did you go tater or craft?
I went craft.
I went tater.
Okay. All right.
Only because like I just feel like there's too much that you're eliminating. Like if you're never gonna drink them ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It is
like
really
we said,
tough because it's infinite supply.
Yeah, I mean, and
so
we said
if you
like
get infinite access to tater bottles, like it's really hard to turn that down. To be honest,
maybe we should reverse and like define tater before we talk about this, because like when I say tater, I'm not talking about Eagle Rare 10. I'm not talking about Taylor. I'm not talking about McKenna. I mean, I'm talking about like your William LaRue Wellers, your George T. Staggs.
It's
like
more
your Parker's
like
Heritage,
and
I'm talking unicorns, and I'm talking like the top 5% of the tater category. I probably would go towards those instead of the craft whiskeys. But if we're talking like just tater bottles that are overhyped, I would absolutely go to the craft side. You guys know that.
No, I mean the tater category includes the low hanging fruits, but it also includes the unicorns. So it's
which is you said that in the beginning. You said that the tater category includes your top hard to find unicorns. So that's the only reason why I'm probably going towards that side, because I'm always a quality over quantity type of guy. So if I were to have 3 bottles in my repertoire, I'd rather it be the top 1%, that's out there.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, I knew if I went craft, then me and you could just share bottles and then we'd be all good.
Yeah. That's fine with me.
Next one. Jake, you got another one or no?
No, I don't have any. I have like a interesting question to bring up if you want me to bring it up.
That sounds good.
I don't really have any, and I think this episode is going a little late. So the question that I have, I don't know if you guys saw, but we announced with Lake County Whiskey Club, we're gonna do a blind, and it's gonna be Heaven Hill versus Buffalo Trace. So we're not gonna say each round which side is which, but it's every round is going to be a Heaven Hill versus a Buffalo Trace. So I want to hear your thoughts on that. I want to hear some potential matchups, and I also want to put it out there that I think this is a really cool idea, and I think we're going to offer up a Gold Eagle blind Heaven Hill versus Buffalo Trace to the public as soon as this Lake County Whiskey Club blind is over. So
I think that's a really cool idea. I'm going to predict a Heaven Hill sweep.
Ooh.
I think a really good matchup would be Taylor versus Elijah Craig.
Just the standard?
Yeah, both small batches. Because those are what's Taylor's 100 proof and Elijah's 94.
94, yeah. I think that'd be good. That'd be a great matchup.
Pretty close. Yeah, I think that's a good one. I would even put up the Buffalo Trace rye is really hard to come by. So there's not really a rye that you could put up.
Like the kosher
Taylor rye? Or kosher rye?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know
what Buffalo Trace rye are you gonna?
I don't think we
somebody
have
put
any of
up?
those to put up against
That's
there.
right.
I think the rye
Oh yeah,
category.
Sazerac counts, right? So
Sazerac.
Sazerac.
So yeah, that is good.
Sazerac versus Rittenhouse.
Rittenhouse. I think the rye will be dominated by Heaven Hill.
I think so too.
This is so. Before you do this, one of my questions I had that I wrote down today, which was going to be funny because I was going to bring it up in this one because of time, but I thought it'd be funny because I know Jake is so polarized. Was the question you should start this off on? Would the tasting off on is have them think before they start. Would you rather get rid of Heaven Hill or Buffalo Trace, and then have them think that through, then do the tasting, and then see if what they thought up first with and talk to their table about met up with the way they viewed things.
I mean, what would you get rid of?
I in that scenario, I would have kept Buffalo and got rid of Heaven Hill. I know Jake would have been completely opposite, and I thought
that's really, really tough.
The reason is, and it's not that you have an infinite supply of it; it's just you'd have to give up one of them. My favorites are like the BTAC line from Buffalo is really good. Like the hardest stuff to get from Buffalo, I think beats almost every single Heaven Hill product that would be competitive against it.
I think you're wrong, but
I think if you, I want your argument, Jake, but I think if you eliminate BTAC and you're only, so, all right, to make it fair, Heaven Hill has one very, very sought after ultimate release, Parker's Heritage. Can we agree?
What about they have that, and then their yearly release of like the Heaven Hill 20 or.
They don't have the extensive unicorn lineup that Buffalo Trace does.
No.
I would, I mean, like, all right. So I guess let's eliminate. So I'm Team Buffalo Trace if we include BTAC and every release. But if we eliminated BTAC and then we eliminated Pappy and eliminated Parker's Heritage and like the Mellow Corn 20-year or whatever releases that they do, what would you rather have?
Yeah.
If you did it that way, I go Heaven Hill. But the top of the line Buffalo Trace stuff is head over heels better than
I agree.
Almost all whiskeys out there.
I'm Team Heaven Hill unless we're talking about like BTAC and the whole Pappy line.
Yeah.
I still haven't opened my Parker's Heritage or Old Fitz, so I'd have to try those first.
Old Fitz is overrated. It is.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of I tried the 19 this year. I don't know, fine,
dude. But those over oaked bombs are my jam.
I mean, it's good. I'm not saying Old Fitz is bad. It's good. It's really good. But it's overrated. The bottle is nicer than the whiskey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the Elijah Craig small batch versus Taylor would be good.
So the matchup I'd like to see that would be really hard to do would be Blanton straight from the barrel versus an Elijah Craig barrel proof.
Ooh. I think Blanton's would win.
That would be an awesome matchup. I don't know. I've had some unbelievable barrel proof Elijahs before.
I mean, I guess this is like personal opinion.
You guys always do. Do you have any foolproof store picks left from last year? Did you do foolproof versus barrel proof?
A Weller? Yeah. Well, I feel like that's a little different because like the Weller,
you could do Larceny and Weller.
Yeah, Larceny and Weller would be good. The only problem with Weller is it's so soft, and that's why people in blinds Weller usually does good because it's so soft. Like mouthfeel.
Yeah. So you just want to.
No, I'm just saying. Like
I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to stack the odds against it.
No. Believe me, I want Buffalo Trace to go down. I'd rather have Heaven Hill win. Like that would be better for me. But when like
you want that, but I put this in there, then Buffalo Trace gets a win.
I've noticed that anytime I put Weller in a blind, the feedback that I get is people are just like, "Oh, so creamy, so soft. Like the mouthfeel is just like pillowy and perfect." And like that's why people like Weller because it's so soft and it has good flavor. But it's so approachable to anyone, to a connoisseur, to someone new to whiskey. So it usually holds up pretty well in a blind tasting. I think it's highly overrated, but it does hold up well in a blind tasting because the mouthfeel is just like anything, unlike anything else you've ever had.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Another good one would be McKenna 10 against Blanton's. I know the proof points don't quite match up, but they're both single barrels.
What about
So you'll get
McKenna
some
10 versus
variation
Eagle
there.
Rare? But I mean, that's kind of like you're not doing yourself justice.
They're so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, they're both
Yeah,
of
I
them.
don't know
You're
what-
not doing yourself justice. What
Mhm.
can Fighting Cock go up against? Because we all know that's a great $20 bottle,
Benchmark.
103 proof. No, Benchmark is underrated too. I
Yeah.
feel like Benchmark
Asian
can go up
I've
against
had some-
Blanton's.
Yeah.
Mm.
I've had some really good, like the benchmark. They don't call it full proof. What's the barrel proof with the benchmark barrel proof?
They do a full proof, I
When
think.
those come out.
Yeah.
Those are, yeah. I think
Barrel
I can't remember
proof?
if they call it full
Yeah.
proof or barrel proof, but they're whatever they call it. It's pretty. I've had some good ones of those. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a cool matchup.
I mean, just put a Thomas Handy versus one of the rides from Heaven Hill.
Rittenhouse would blow away Thomas Handy.
Really?
It would. I think it would.
if they were the same proof.
Honestly, in a blind tasting, I think it would.
Interesting.
I mean, that pipe bill is pretty damn good.
Huntsville would too.
I'm a fan of that.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll have to figure those out. But
I wish we had these heavy
That was
hitters
fun.
to put in the blind, but yeah, it was a fun.
oh, I have one final one. Would you rather question? This is a really quick one.
All right.
Would you rather agree with everything I say or disagree with everything I say?
Disagree.
So that means half of your answers you got to change the other way. Actually, over half of
Oh,
yours.
Did you
shit,
were you
you're right.
were you doing that math? Were you doing that math the whole time on this podcast?
Yeah, he was tracking it the
He
whole
was,
time.
yeah,
he was
I-
like,
I
"All
was
right,
tracking
I'm gonna ask my end of the podcast question."
Yeah,
These
yeah.
guys
no,
are
I
all
got
on
that one
pace.
through. So either you're a hypocrite or you're going to agree and know that I'm the smartest
that's
one.
really
So.
that's really difficult.
I'm gonna disagree, Dan, just to disagree with you.
Yeah, I know you would. I knew I was going to catch Jake right there.
Oh man,
But
yeah, you
nice.
caught me in the trap for sure. There.
Yeah. If you guys enjoyed this or have some more would you rather questions or what points you'd like us to talk through, feel free to comment on any of our socials about it or send us an email.
Yeah,
through the
send some
website
our
or whatever.
way.
How about
Oh,
this?
We'll shout you out and read them.
Yeah, definitely put them in because there's times where we're like 40 minutes in, 30 minutes in, and what else can we do? So we're going to put out a would you rather comment and throw it out there.
Yeah, it's fun. It gives a good way to think things through and get some different points because we all like when you think through these questions, you kind of have your answer known right away, but then it's fun to hear what other people say and why they choose it.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
can make you change your
Yeah.
mind pretty easily.
Jake
Have another
surprised me tonight,
thought
honestly.
process.
First couple
Don't
rounds.
give
Full
him
of
that.
surprises.
Don't give him
I'm
that.
not giving him anything. I
But-
disagree with him. I'm just
Yeah.
saying he surprised me.
He's disappointed, Dan.
Yeah, I'm disappointed.
Just disappointed.
Uh-huh.
All right. Jake, blind tastings. You guys released a couple, or not blind tastings. You guys
Under 5
released
years.
some.
Come on.
You guys released some new master classes and things at Gold Eagle.
Yeah,
If people want to get tickets and go to those, where can they go?
goldeaglewine.com/events. And we just put up like 4 more in the last couple days. We got Jeff the Creed coming. We have, let me pull up the list right now. Hard Truth is coming in 2 weeks. And then we have a Chardonnay and cheese pairing. Then we have Torveg Distillery. And then we have Jeff the Creed. And then Lockleah, which Lockleah is going to be good. You should talk to Rob about that one yet?
Is that on Wednesday? Or
It's
no?
on a Wednesday.
I didn't check the date on that one.
But it's
Was that is it the same with Torbeg or no?
same what?
Same day as Torbeg?
No.
Is it?
No, different day.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's November 1st. But anyway, Lockleah, Scotch Distillery, farm to bottle, just like Whiskey Acres. And they are the master or the barrel manager for Laphroaig is now like the head blender for Locklear. He was at Laphroaig for 27 years, and he's going to be here for the masterclass. So,
okay,
that would be cool. But yeah, goldeaglewine.com/events to check all those out. Goldeaglewine.com. Check us out on Instagram at Gold Eagle Wine, Facebook Gold Eagle Spirits, and throw it back to you guys.
Just come hang out with me because there's like a 95% chance I'm going to be at all of them.
Don't say that because now Jake just lost 4 ticket sales.
So you can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can watch us on Spotify and YouTube. You can comment on YouTube, obviously, but for those that don't know, you can also comment on Spotify now. So leave comments on there. Give us your feedback. Let us know if you want to see us do a live recording at Gold Eagle with Drew. We're still
Drew wants to do it. We gotta find the day and time to do it. Drew's down.
Yeah, it'd be so much fun. Find us on Instagram at Bourbon Matters and Facebook. Like, rate, subscribe, share, thumbs up, all that stuff.
Awesome. All right, guys, another little fun thought experiment tonight.
Yeah, good idea.
This is a good one. This is fun.
All right.
Yeah,
cheers.
Dan's first good idea, everybody. Cheers.
Wasn't mine. Cheers.
Cheers.